Okay, I can move. Hmm? Not like that. Excellent.
I think you're live now.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this week. We're trying something new with streaming to YouTube. Hope it works for you and for me. The tip jar is, as always, available. If you got it and you can spare it, it's always welcome. And if you don't, no problem. It's at paypal.me/Tim Williams Blues. Tim Williams Blues, TWB are all in capitals. And, okay. Let's see. I had a request for this tune, which is very cool because today is little Walter's birthday. If he'd lived to be an old man, he'd be 90 today. He didn't even live to be a middle-aged man. He got killed after a gambling argument in Chicago. This was written by the great Willie Dixon. One of the first great Chicago blues tunes I learned. I heard it on the XERB, with their 500,000 watt transmitter across the border in Tijuana, and their business office in San Diego. And man, that signal would come booming across the Mojave Desert. My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating, my baby. My baby don't stand no cheating. Don't go over none of that mean mistreating, my baby. Don't stand no cheating, my baby. My baby don't stand no fooling, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no fooling, my baby. My baby don't stand no fooling when she's hot. There ain't no cooling, my baby. Don't stand no fooling, my baby. My baby, I know she loves me, my baby. My baby, I know she loves me, my baby. My baby, I know she loves me. Don't do nothing but kiss and hug me, my baby. Can't stand no cheating, my baby. Don't stand no fooling, my baby. Yeah, the true little mama is my baby. Thank you. Happy birthday, little Walter, wherever you are. That's by request. We're going to cover a lot of requests today because last week we had so much trouble getting a clean signal that it was kind of difficult. And let's see, what are we doing here? At different times, the last 25 or so years, 30 years, I've done a fair amount of music for live theater. And this piece, which I recorded on my Songs to Musicianer and Music Positioner CD, is it was intended for use in a production of Tennessee Williams' play The Glass Menagerie. Tennessee Williams' main character in the play has a father you never see, but he ran away to Mexico. And he sent the family a postcard from Mazatlan. One of my favorite kiss-offs ever. The postcard said, "Having a wonderful time, glad you were there." So my wife and I were on this little rented catamaran between Mazatlan and Mazatlan Island, and or Deer Island, the gringos call it there. And this song came into my head. After I recorded it, I realized I'd borrowed a lot of it from great song Hawaiian Reverie. This is a classic slack key style. People confuse Hawaiian styles. Slack key has nothing to do with the Hawaiian steel tradition. Slack key is the open tuning finger style tradition of the Hawaiian cowboys called paniolos. So this is called Across the Water from Mazatlan. So that's done in open G tuning, which is in America, North America, we call it Spanish tuning because of the old power instrumental of the Spanish fandango. More about parlor style music and guitars in a minute here. Most of the fingerstyle players I know, one of their big influences is Joseph Spence. And I had a request to do this. When I was still in school, Spence came to Los Angeles to play at the Ash Grove, and he was preceded by his recordings, and every decent guitar player, acoustic guitar player in Southern California was there to hear him. my old buddy Monty Finkelman requested this. I've never had recorded this. Ry Cooder does a really nice version of it. Um, the late John Renbourn did a version, but a much straighter version. It's originally a Pentecostal hymn. A lot of Spence's stuff came from the music he played with his wife's choir. He was from St. Andros Island in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas. This is called Great Dream or Bright Dream from Heaven, and it goes like this. So, parlor music was a style of music that was not intended to be performed in public, in concert. It was the era when people still maybe were beginning to have phonographs. Radio was still in its infancy, and people made a lot of music at home. And the instruments, especially guitars at that point, American guitars were smaller in general, and they were made to play in a non-concert setting, a parlor setting. This one is about as big as a parlor guitar gets. This is a Lyon and Haley built Marquette. They produced these from the late 1800s to the early 1920s. This one, I think, would be a later one. There's, if you're a knucklehead like me for these old instruments, there's several ways you can tell from decade to decade, even if, like this one, they don't have a serial number in them. This one is from the beginnings of North American guitar building. This one made, Martin opened in 1833, and there were a few companies, Ashbourne, Stouffer, and a few others. But the guitar was a novel instrument, I think the American Civil War helped to popularize it because it was portable. Much more portable than, carrying a piano around on your back. This one, best guess on this instrument, it is definitely pre-1900. You can tell because it's got the square slots here that were cut by hand instead of with a drill press. It's got a two-piece neck. This neck, the joint here where the peg head is, hooks into that neck with a little hook that is actually carved into the wood. And the neck on it looks to me to be Spanish cedar instead of the more traditional mahogany. Guesses on this from luthiers I trust and other players of old instruments are anywhere from the 1860s to the 80s. Very light red Adirondack spruce on the top and real Brazilian rosewood on the back and sides, which makes it very hard to export it for sale. Uh, if I do try and sell it again, it would be sold to a Canadian only, or an American who was willing to drive here, pick it up, and then deal with the border themselves. So here's a piece. It would have been common knowledge when this guitar was young, by the great Stephen Foster. This is from my friend Alex Knox. I quite often play a slide arrangement of this, but I thought today I'd just play it fingerstyle on this little instrument that's so period right for it. This is a no name, by the way. I have put lights and mirrors all over the inside of this guitar. And a luthier friend of mine who did the neck reset it just had did the same. And we've never been able to find a single marking, not a number, not an initial, not a name. Let us pause in life's pleasures to taste its bitter tears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a song, the sigh of the weary. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many a day have you lingered around my cabin door. Whoa, hard times come again no more. And while we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fading round the door. And though their voices are silent, their pleading lips would say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a song, the sigh of the weary. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many a day have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a song, the sigh of the weary. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many a day have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, many a day have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There you go. Stephen Foster's Hard Times, played on a beautiful old parlor guitar that was probably used to play a lot of his tunes when it was young. Who we got happening here? Let's see. Oh, Lloyd and Joni. Hey, guys. And Alan Whitehead. Yes, Alan, there is that the rare wood regulations. You have to get a broker to ship it, though, which costs a fortune. As I discovered, some guy in Australia wanted to buy that guitar, and I had to pull out of the deal. In America, they charge you for the permit as well. They don't do that here in Canada. America, it's the I's country. I's the president. I weaponize. I demonize. I monetize. You know. No offense to our American listeners. I used to be one of you. I'm over it now. Okay, so here's another lovely little parlor guitar. This is kind of a special one for me. 49 years ago, I walked into my buddy Rick Van Krugel's house. He was living in Vancouver then. And I had played a gig, and there was a little guitar pole picking party going on at Rick's. So I came in the door with my guitar and a case of beer or a bottle of wine or something. And Rick said, leave your guitar in the case and play this. And he took this down off the wall and handed it to me. And I played it for the whole night. And when I was leaving, he said, take that with you and give me $100 when you have it. This is a Stella guitar made by, sold by the Oscar Schmidt Company. This one dates from it's from somewhere between the end of the First World War and the Great Depression. Jerry Murray, who is a mutual friend of Rick's and mine, his great aunt and uncle bought this used. Jerry said they thought it was new used, and they bought it. They were vaudevillians, and they bought it in 1929. So it's probably somewhere in the 26 to 28 range. These are what the great country blues players all used. You see photographs of Robert Johnson with a Gibson. That was rare for a blues man. Johnson mostly used Kalamazoos, which were Gibson's cheaper brand, or Stellas. Blind Lemon Jefferson, Charlie Patton, Blind Willie Johnson, the list, Blind Blake. The list goes on and on. They played Stellas. Stellas, you could buy them out of a catalog, and they were kind of good looking, and they were cheap. And if you lived in the Delta and played, in the heat and the dust and the humidity, and didn't own a case, because if you owned a case, that meant you thought you were a professional, and that meant some white cop would beat the hell out of you. Your instruments didn't last all that long. They got pretty beat up. Well, I'm going to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. Said I'm going to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. There ain't nothing in Chicago a fine looking gal like you could do. Now Chicago is a town that will laugh right in your face. Yeah, Chicago is a town that will grin right in your face. Laugh when they tell you find some other place. to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. Well, I'm going to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. There ain't nothing in Chicago a crazy gal like you could do. Now, when you see me coming, raise your window high. When you see me leaving, oh, hang your head and cry. 'Cause I'm going to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. Said I'm going to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. There ain't nothing in Chicago a crazy gal like you could do. Going to Chicago. I first learned that from a record by the great Jimmy Witherspoon, but then I've heard elements of it in older tunes, and I think like a lot of blues, it's a compilation of some floating verses, you know, they used to call them. And let's see here, what are we going to do? We're going to do, this is a tune I wrote on this guitar. And for years, I quit playing and worked on ranches. And this little guitar, well, for a while it was in the custody of my first ex-wife. And then it came back to me. It was going to go to my oldest son, but he liked other guitars of mine better. So I bought him a newer guitar like them. No, I don't have my mandolins with me, and I don't do. That's not the kind of mandolin I play. So the Godfather theme isn't going to happen today. But thanks for dialing in. This is on my "When I Was a Cowboy" album. It comes from those years when I worked on ranches, and somehow this little guitar actually went around with me, place to place. You know. Getting hauled around in horse trailers and living in bunkhouses and stuff, you know. If you're interested in any of these recordings, I have some of them, physical recordings for sale, and downloads are available. Pretty much all of them are on Apple Music through a Canadian company called Indie Pool. Okay. I was just 18 and out the door, bound out for the Rockies. Gonna learn to throw a diamond hitch, learn to pack a guide. Mama standing at the stove, baking chocolate cookies. Head bowed down and turned around to hide the tears she cried. She said, send me word from the range you ride on. Let me know the way the days go by and the things that bring you pride. Tell me all the landmarks and the names of all the horses. Send me word from the range where you ride. I was 24 and wrangling for a dude string on the old man. Now the poplar hills, short grass flats, and a thrill to my own soul. Deep in love with the cowboy's life and blonde-haired rancher's daughter. She took my hand and smiled at me as I tied up my bedroll. I said, send me word from the range you ride on. Let me know the way the days go by and the things that bring you pride. Tell me all the landmarks and the names of all the horses. Send me word from the range where you ride. I was 20 miles from anywhere when Dad rode his last circle. I got home a day too late and the family took it hard. I walked out the front door, slammed the rusty screen behind me, and I stood staring at the sky in Mama's bare front yard. And I said, send me word from the new range you ride on. Let me know the way the days go by and the things that bring you pride. Tell me all the landmarks and the names of all the horses. Send me word from the new range where you ride. Send me word from the new range where you ride. Word from the range. You may have heard that. My friends, the Simpson brothers, fine cowboys and trainers and guide outfitters and movie wranglers, they recorded it. And my pal Don Waddell, the cowboy poet, has performed it as a spoken word piece at the Cowboy Poets Gathering in Elko, Nevada. Who we got listening here now? Man's Lipscomb. Oh my goodness. Oh, and somebody wants to know what strings I use. They're kind of different for different guitars. I mostly these days use the Roto Sound Bronze from England. Very good strings, very reasonable price. You can get them most places in North America or online. Yeah, let me think. Yeah, Man's Lipscomb. I did one of Mance's songs on my first vinyl recording, which is like saying I used to carry stone textbooks to school. But I made my first album for Epic when I was 20 years old. And like a lot of guys back then, John Hammond and Tom Rush had both done these albums I really liked, where one side was electric and one side was acoustic. And on the acoustic album, I did this song by Mance. Now, the Buzzard Lope, which he mentions in this tune, is one of those old dances like the Grizzly Bear or the Black Bottom. The Buzzard Lope was another of these. There was a trend for dances where people acted like animals, not acted like animals like you see at closing time in a lot of honky tonks, but actually we tried to act like the animal the song was about. Sip time, it is happy hour after all. Of course, right now, happy hour starts whenever you damn well say it does at this point in time. Now, sugar babe, I'm tired of you. Ain't your money, but the way you do. Sugar babe, it's all over now. All I want my baby to do is to make $5. Give me two. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Well, I went downtown, bought me a rope, and I walked my mama till she buzzed low. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Went downtown and I bought me a line, and I worked that woman till she changed her mind. Sugar babe, it's all over now. And I said, sugar babe, I'm tired of you. Ain't your honey, but the way you do. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Said, sugar babe, I'm tired of you. Ain't your money, but the way you do. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Oh, sugar babe, it's all over now. Oh yes, whopped my baby till she changed her mind. That's they don't write them like that anymore, probably for a good reason. Um, you have to always keep in mind when you listen to those old blues songs that much of that was jive. It was humor, the way people talk to each other. Old man, get off your useless butt and go make me some money. You know. What do we got here? All right. I'm gonna do one more that I wrote here. Actually, I'll probably do a couple more that I wrote. This tune, I have all these friends who have way sorrier love lives than I've had, and I don't really have to go out and mess up anymore. I just watch what my friends do and steal their tragic love lives and write songs about it. Every now and then you catch yourself and you go, "Oh no, I know that guy in that song. That's me. Like, that's me 40 years ago." But this is I had a friend who kept. He had a good job, seasonal job, but he had a good job, and he had this woman who would magically get back together with him till they spent all his money partying, and then she would leave. Once he had to go back to being a musician, and then he would go back to work out of town, making big bucks. And when he came back into town with his pockets full, they would magically reunite. And he was never smart enough to catch on. Song called No Last Chance. You think you can come back, baby, when it suits your style. But break my heart and bank account with nothing but your smile. Make me cry those tears again, enough to flood the night. I know it was that way before, but not for quite a while. Ain't gonna be no next time, baby. No more chance to dog my life around. I was yours so long ago, before I was my own. All that is behind me now, honey, look how I have grown. And if I sound hurtful, sorry, baby, you don't like my tone. You are just one more wild oat I regretfully have sown. Ain't gonna be no next time, baby. No more chance to dog my life around. There ain't nothing you can say or do to change the circumstance. We'll skip this dance, is non-romance, and there's no last chance. In your heart, you were sure all would turn out fine. Time to play in your own pocket. You're all through in mine. Tried to warn you, baby, not to cross that leaving line. This love is now just vinegar that might have once been wine. Ain't gonna be no next time, no more chance to dog my life around. There ain't nothing you can say or do to change this circumstance. We'll skip this dance, is non-romance, and there's no last chance. I had it up to here with turn, suffering into art. Time to show some strength and throw you straight out of my heart. And if you should find this commentary pointed at a dart, like Moses told the Red Sea, baby, it's time for us to part. Ain't gonna be no next time, no more chance to dog my life around. Dog my life around. Dog me round, round, round. Dog me round. Who else we got here? Oh, I see my youngest brother Theo is watching today. Hey, happy birthday, belated. It was his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Theo. Everybody's birthdays this week. Little Walter, started with a Little Walter tune. And I'm going to end with this song, which was a couple times almost recorded by Willie Nelson. Willie turned 87 yesterday, I think, or the day before. I doubt Willie's going to get around to recording this now, although, you know, he lives beside his recording studio, so what else does he do all day? This is for my friends Lloyd and Joni and Kelly, all of whom asked for this last week, and we had so much trouble with the signal that I just decided to mostly do that show over again, trying the YouTube streaming. I'm really anxious to hear what you guys think of it. So happy belated to Willie. This song is the worst kind of niche marketing ever. Everybody sends me notes or calls and says, hey, do you mind if they play that at my funeral? Do I owe you any money? And you go, no, use it. You're not going to pay me anyway. Yeah, you leave it in your will that they owe me $50 or something. No. So it's the wrong kind of niche marketing. Had I written a cute song about puppies, for example, uh, I would be making money off it now. But writing a song that people only think is about them being dead is not such a good career move. In a career full of similar moves. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to sign off on here. Remember, if you feel so inclined and you got it, the tip jar is paypal.me/Tim Williams Blues. Tim Williams and Blues, all of those T, W, and B are capital letters. And I'll see you next week at the same time, the same place. Stay safe. Stay home. Wash your hands. Remember what your mother said. Wash your hands. Don't pick your nose. And no, you can't go outside. If a song or two remains when I've sung my last refrain, that's enough for me. That's enough to be remembered. If the words I write live on long after I'm gone, that's enough for me. It's enough to be remembered. And if all the things that I've lived for stay as far away as a distant shore, who could ask for too much more than memories? And if the love in me could stay and warm your later days, that's enough for me. It's enough to be remembered. I mean, I've been gone a while. If at times I make you smile, that's enough for me. It's enough to be remembered. And if all the harm that I've caused can fade and die like old applause, we all live by our own laws and memories. And when my sons grow wise and old, on nights when the stories all get told, if they speak of me, it's enough to be remembered. Oh, that's enough for me. It's enough to be remembered. Well, that's it for me today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Let's see what else is going on. My out of print teaching videos on ragtime and slide guitar and on blues mandolin will be available again like right away from truefire.com, which is really cool for me because they've been out of print for a while and I've had a lot of requests for them. And one more time, paypal.me/Tim capital T, Williams capital W, Blues capital B. And we'll see you all next week. Be well.